Hi, this is Hamilton from Ram Records, and I've been asked to do this tutorial on my latest track, Build a Fury, which is out now alongside track 8. If you haven't already bought it, make sure you go and do it right now. I love to watch video tutorials myself, and I'm a big fan of them. I've been doing this a while, and I always think it's you never really stop learning, so whatever you can pick up elsewhere is great. But the thing to bear in mind is, you should always still try and do your own thing. And if there's a technique that you prefer, a way of doing it above and beyond someone else's, even if you've got massive respect for them, it's worth pursuing your own way, because at the end of the day, that's going to make your whole job a lot easier. Okay, let's get started now, but before you watch the video, I need you to read and fully understand this disclaimer that I'm about to show. Seek independent legal advice if necessary. Okay, ready? Right, okay, let's get started. So I'm opening up what I like to use to write my tracks in, which is a program. It's a new program, only came out in March this year. It's called Bitwig Studio. I personally absolutely love it. I think they've really thought about everything that modern day electronic music producer needs, and they've basically slimmed it all down to a really good workflow, as you'll probably see during the sort of course of this video. But normally I do work on two screens. I'll just drag my other window over for you now. That's what I would normally have on my other screen, but just for the sake of this video we'll work on one screen. But yeah, as you can see, I've sort of customized this to be the mixer window. But we'll put that back over there for the minute. Now this is what I kind of like to call the evolution of snare. This is where I'll kind of show you how I went around about building my snare. What I'll do first is I'll play you the bounces that I took, and then I'll go back and I'll show you how I got to those points. So yeah, these are all the bounces and the kind of evolution of how this snare came about. Yeah, so as you can sort of kind of hear, there's more kind of processing, more beefing up, and then like there's a sort of addition of another top layer with various different kind of attacks and releases and stuff like that. And then I went ahead and kind of chose one of these finished versions. But to get to that point, what I did was a bit of kind of groundwork beforehand, and what I did is I kind of wanted to build a snare out of three kind of characteristics, which you can see here. I've got low snare, so that would be your kind of punch aspect, character snare, fairly self-explanatory, character, and a snap snare to kind of give it that snap, basically. it's not rocket science. So what I did is I kind of loaded up these drum machines, which is just, it's basically a drum machine sampler like you can get in most of the DAWs. And I chose a few sort of lower snares, a few character snares, and a few snap snares, and kind of went through and played with them. This first one I actually I made in Serum actually, and it's basically a sine wave and a bit of white noise, and yeah, just tuned to around about G, I think. So I'll just play that for you now. So yeah, as you can hear, it's pretty basic sound, and yeah, if I have a look on the this plugin here, we should be able to see. Yeah, it's pretty much at G, which it is actually at G, but it's G tuned to the 4/3/2 scale rather than 4/40. Just because I like making life a little bit harder for myself. So that's that one. And there is an EQ on here, but it's not doing anything, it's just completely flat. And then for the character snare, that's the one I chose. It's kind of sounds, to be honest, it sounds shit, but it's got that kind of rough niceness that I was looking for. And what I did on that is I reversed the polarity of the sample so that it sat better with a lower snare. There wasn't so much of a phase issue. And then with the EQ, I basically just cut out a bit of low and a bit of high on a gentle curve. So you can. That's what it sounds like without it. If you've got a sub, you'll be able to hear a bit of rumble at the bottom. And I just cut out a bit of the tops so that it avoided the higher end of the snare, which I'm going to show you now, which is this. So we've got the top end of the snare here. Again, I just chose one of these samples, and again I'll reverse the polarity on that one because it was. Hang on a sec, sorry. Hello? Oh no, not really, no. No, Simon, no, look, I don't really want to do it. No. Can't you ask Sinisa? Alright, alright. Look, I'm doing a video tutorial at the moment. Can I call you back? Yeah? Alright, cheers mate. Bye. Sorry about that. Where were we? Right, so we reversed the polarity, and what I did is I cut out a bit of the low and boosted the highs a little bit. So if I play that and then I'll take the EQ off, you can hear there's a bit of more bottom end coming in, slightly less tops obviously. We got all those separate elements, and if we put them together, it's sounding alright, but it probably could be better. So what I did is I bounced those three snares together. One of the things I like about Bitwig is that one of the ways you can bounce something is just by adding a part in there, hitting bouncing play, and there's your snare all bounced. So I did that a few times, and we've kind of moved on to this now. So it's basically the same. So that's the sum of those three parts put together, and then what I've done is I've taken the very first part of the snare, which you would call the sort of transient, and then the second part of the snare. So that's basically the same channel that's been copied, and I've just cut the beginning off on that one and cut the end off on that one. And then what I've done is I've sent this to my snare 1 bus, which is down here. And as you can see, there's no processing at all. And then I've sent the tail to my snare 2 bus, which has got a bit of processing on, which I'll show you in a minute. But what that means is that the hit of the snare always remains unchanged regardless of what you do to the tail, which is good at preserving that kind of hit and punch that you want on the snare. And then these are sent to this master output for all the snares, which is snare 1 and snare 2 are going to this snare master output, on which I've got an ozone, which is making quite a sort of significant contribution really. If I mute all these, you'll hear the difference that it makes. So basically I've got an imager here, which is taking out all the mono up to taking out all the stereo up to 2000 Hertz. Dynamics, just adding a bit of compression to this band here, which is the main side of the snare. EQ, brightening things up again, exciter, sort of distorting a little bit of the kind of low, mid, and sort of lower high stuff, and then yeah, basically just a maximizer, just to bring it all into line and give it that kind of squashed feel. So yeah, I was reasonably happy with this snare. Yeah, let me just show you the tail as well. This is so we've got the thud coming through this one, and then we've got the tail here, but if I take that off, you can hear it's lost a bit of ambience, and what I've done there is I've got this effects layer, which is one of the good useful things in Bitwig, which has got a dry element, which is that's just totally dry, and then it's got this kind of roomy reverb with this Valhalla reverb, two plugins that aren't actually being used, and that's just to give the tail a bit of a, bit more of a tail, so to speak. And then got this EQ on here, which is a combination of stereo EQing and mono stereo EQing. This is a nice little tip I saw on the Noisy video. You've got to pick up those guys, but I mean, they actually know what they're doing. I'm just kind of like just making it up as I go along, really. But yeah, on this one, it's got a low cut, just cutting out the low, high cut, cutting out the high. And this is the thing that I picked up from the Noisy video, where basically they EQ'd out the stereo around the middle, and I don't know why, but it just sounds better in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, I was reasonably happy with this. So but I tried it out in a couple of tracks, and it just wasn't quite happening. So I basically added this clap. And what I did is the same process without I separated the transient, that's going to snare 1, separate the tail, that's going to snare 2, and yeah, as a result. And then I was we got the snare, and I was like I said before, when I was bouncing them out, I was messing around with different different kind of tail lengths and stuff like that, and then I just sort of settled on one I liked in the end. An example of how to build a snare. Personally, I absolutely hate this side of making music. For me, I just like writing music. That's where I'm at. I'm not really into the whole sort of spending hours and hours on minute things. But unfortunately, it is necessary, especially when it comes to things like snares and stuff. It's a bit like, I look at it as a bit like homework. When you get homework at school, you don't really want to do it, but you have to do it. So it's kind of like, that's the way I see it. Yeah, so kind of a little bit boring, but at the end of the day, it is so important to have a good sounding drums. It just makes such a big difference to your track. It's because it's the backbone of the music, so it's worth spending the time on. So I've opened up the final arrangement of Field of Fury, and I've put, this is the snare in place. Sounds slightly different because I've got this alloy on, which is doing a bit of EQ, transient, and dynamics, just compressing a little bit, and then that's going through some drum buses as well, which I'll show you about in a bit. So yeah, here's the drum mix in full. I've actually had to deactivate the rest of the project because yeah, I was having a bit of trouble playing it. Such is life when you get to the finished stage of a track on a slightly old computer. But yeah, basically I'll just take you through these drums. We've got a kick, which I made using pretty much the same process as the snare, except I think I just used two kicks, but a very, very similar process. This sounds like this. So yeah, I layered it with a more breaky kind of kick. The snare we've covered. Added a clap That's just kind of extend the tail a little bit. No EQ on that one. This crash. Again, yeah, that's just to cover the snare, and there's a little bit in between as well. With this one, we've cut out quite a lot at the bottom to allow the snare to come through, and knocked out some annoying frequencies. I generally know they're annoying because they hurt my ear. That's the hat. It's pretty standard. We reversed the polarity, probably for the same reasons as before, and got a high low cut and notching out of annoying frequencies, and what looks like a shelf, which is on. That's just taking off a bit of the sheen off the hats. Got this hat loop. That's not a hat loop from a sample CD or anything. That's like a kind of collection of hats and shakers that I put together. I think I used in another tune and just bounced out that section just because I liked it. With this, we've got this wave center plugin where we're bringing down the mid amount, as in the center of those particular elements, and leaving the sides up. So effectively, it's making it sound wider. And also letting the big mono elements like the kick and snare to breathe through. We've got this shaker, which I think is actually still in MIDI, with this sampler, like pretty cleanly cut, and a little bit of velocity changes there to give it a bit of feel. It's pretty standard stuff. Got that ride, which is more, I think it probably took that from a breakbeat. That's going through this distortion plugin here. And crash, pretty standard stuff, just a crash on the drop. So yeah, as I said before, all these drums are being sent off to various buses. I've got 3 buses here for my drums. I've got effectively I've got 2 sub buses that are both going into this main bus here. But drums 1 is basically for my big elements like kick, snares, maybe hi-hats or whatever, but just the ones that are the more prominent. And then drums 2 is basically for all the ones that I want to avoid drums 1, if that makes sense. So more the percussive elements. And then I've got this bus which sums them all together. So for instance, like the kick 1 and kick 2, they're both being sent to drum bus 1. The snare as well. And then other elements like the crash, hats, shaker, ride, and this crash, they're all going to drums bus 2. This clap is going straight to drums bus 3 for some reason, but it must have just been, I thought it sounded better. And yeah, so then on drums bus 1, this is for things like we've got the kick and the snare, for example, going through here. We've just got this ozone, adding a little bit of this is the ozone exciter, and it's adding a little bit of top end excitement. It's very exciting. And then we've got drums bus 2, where we've actually got a low cut, but it's a stereo low cut. So what that means is that below here is more mono, and then up above is left as it is stereo. That's to let the bigger elements of the kick and snares and whatnot come through. And then this is the one of the latest plugins that has caused a bit of a stir, and it's been around for a while, but it's just been updated to version 2, which means that it just it's more appealing. And this is Track Spacer, which is basically it's a sidechain compression, but The good thing about it is it's really quick and easy to use, and also it kind of just dips the particular frequency of what you're trying to avoid, rather than the whole thing, say as if you were to use a compressor or whatever. So with this one, I've got drums bus 1 is being fed into the side chain part of this, so when I play it, you can see that the kick and snare are being side chained, and kind of the high end of the snare as well, which is just dipping the volume in that area of frequencies to kind of keep them out of the way of the drums, and yeah, it works pretty well. I found that 33% seems to be about the golden amount for that. Any more than that, and yeah, it's a little bit too much. So yeah, and then they're all going to this final drum bus, on which I've got this a chain which I've saved as I've called it drum space. It's actually got 2 chains in it, although this one's not being used, but it's a similar thing to what I've got on here, and that is basically splitting the signal. So you've got, and this is a parallel split, so you've got your completely dry signal there, and then you've got this, which is effectively your wet signal. So this chain, you've got a low cut, shelving off a little bit at the bottom end, a bit of distortion, and yeah, that's going into the Valhalla reverb there, and again we've got the old noisy trick with dipping the stereo in the middle, and a little bit off the top there as well, but that's just the normal stereo. That's dipping both stereo and mono there, and basically, if you just think of this, I know this might seem a weird way of doing it, but this is like the Bitwig way. Everything's nicely compact, and you don't have to go to a million different pages to do something. So this is basically your dry channel, and that's your wet channel, and then you mix them together. It's as simple as that. Now, any of you who know my track Soundboy might recognise this. Yeah, I'm not too proud to admit that is the Amon from Soundboy, but slightly modified in as much as I think I used this just to distort it. Actually, kind of like the distortion on this can actually be alright. I know it's not really what it's meant to be used for, but it kind of it's not too bad. Again, I've got a Valhalla, giving it a bit of room, kind of reverb. I must say that Valhalla reverb is one of the best I've found. I mean, I really like Logic Space Designer. I really do like that reverb. That's one of the things that's probably actually the thing I miss most from Logic. But it's a small price to pay, because this Valhalla reverb I think is pretty much as good. Perhaps it's even better. And then yeah, a bit of EQ there, so we'll kind of I think I picked out the snare, the Amon a bit there, got rid of some annoying frequencies, a little bit of a low cut, because that Amon, it's kind of processed and it's already got a kick mixed into it, so I kind of left that, and yeah, just a bit of compression there. That's one of the standard Bitwig compressors, but I think it's really good. I mean, a lot of people, you know, I struggle to tell the difference between a lot of compressors, I'll be honest. So I'm wondering if it's that they're all the same, or if it's just me. I can't tell the difference, but I'm just happy to use whatever compressor that's quickest and easy for me to use, and in this case it's this one. But yeah, with this Amon, I obviously beefed it up a bit and cut it up a bit, and I think it actually sounds better than it did in Soundboy anyway. So I think that's pretty much, apart from these, got these little drums in the intro, just to, yeah, I took the kick of the Amon, was, like I said, I already had a kick mixed into it, and used that the hat. Yeah, just cut some of the hat down and picked on that, and then just use these two snare samples, like reggae sort of snares at the beginning. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the drums. Nothing groundbreaking or earth-shattering there. I think that pretty much wraps up this part of the video, but make sure you check out part 2, because that's where I'll be going into all the kind of sounds, like the bass sounds and reese sounds and stuff like that, and running through all the extra bits. And then also I'll sort of talk you through the rest of my buses and the master output. So I'll see you next time. Yes, Simon.